And of course, you and I can be in the corner at the Last Supper praying like this, which is private prayer. It's a good thing, but we're with Jesus at the Last Supper and we're praying. Jesus takes off his garment and starts to wash the feet of the apostles. He looks down the table, and here I am praying. You know what he's going to do? He's going to come over and he's going to say, "Will you open your eyes? I'm doing the biggest image of what Christianity. Open your eyes and look at me." And I say, "No, I'm praying." The reason why the apostles went ballistic is because being a servant was being in the power of somebody else. And Jesus said, "Look, the love I'm talking about for all of us is not love one another. I'm not here to talk about loving one another. I'm not." What Jesus said in his Last Supper was, "Love one another as I have loved you." And when Jesus says, "Love one another as I have loved you," you know our love is up and down like a yo-yo. You know that. We're all big enough to understand that. My love depends on whether I got Starbucks coffee in the morning. But the commandment for us is not love one another. It's love one another as I have loved you. Now, we come to the end of that line by 9:30 in the morning. We're done. But Jesus cannot command the impossible. If he commands us to love one another as he loved us, then he will supply his love, his vision, his way of looking at people to us, and delight that he's supplying his love into our very being to love with. And that's what we have to ask him for. And not keep berating ourselves that we can't, on and on and on. Jesus does not command the impossible, and he loves to supply his love and vision for us to love everybody in our lives with. There's plenty of gas out there from Jesus to fill our tank. Let me love this person as you love them, O Lord. But the question is, how do I get that? Where do I see it? We see Jesus at that Last Supper with all these apostles. They didn't have a high school education. They didn't have a graduate degree. They're not business-oriented. They're fishermen. And at table, 5 chapters from John, all this stuff went on. And the same thing when Jesus was risen. Jesus appeared to his apostles while they were at table. There's a reason why he did that. He could have appeared to them at any time in that upper room. He appeared to them while they were eating to give them the real food of his resurrection. Jesus appeared to the apostles at Emmaus while they were eating, after he walked with them. And when they broke the bread, they recognized him in the breaking of the bread. Can you recognize Jesus in the breaking of the bread? Do you share yourselves at a meal? Now, finally, Jesus gives us the image of heaven, and he calls it the heavenly banquet. As we're running out of McDonald's, the heavenly banquet, what's that got to do with anything? I got to get to the next meeting. But look what Jesus is sharing with us. What clinical findings are revealing is a strange but true factor. Human beings, you and me, are more motivated by our futures than we are by our pasts. Example, what's it like getting up on Saturday morning? We get up on Saturday morning like this. Yes. We got 2 days of more or less vacation. But what is it like to get up on Monday morning? It kind of like this. Well, what's that all about? That's a very simple example of how we're more motivated by our futures. We get up on Saturday morning like this because we got 2 days where we don't have to go to work. We get up on Monday morning like, we got 5 days of work. That's how much it affects us, our futures. Now, have you ever tried to get free from your past? If you ever have tried to get free from your past, you will see how difficult it is. What a stronghold our past has on us. You just try to get free of it. Yet what we're finding is even though how strong our past has a grip on us, our future has a deeper grip. And Christ has said our future is going to be a banquet together. But what's he talking about? I mean, we're going to have food we can eat 24 hours a day, like on a cruise? No, he's not talking about that. He's talking about the companionship and conversation between us and those we love who are always with us and always will be, and himself. And he uses a meal. I do not want you to go up to Holy Communion like this. Ever again. I want you to go up to Holy Communion like this. What am I talking about? I guarantee you that if you go up to Holy Communion like this, with your eyes open and your head up and looking at everybody, whether they got that Gucci bag they got it at an outlet. They got it at an outlet. If you go up to communion like this, invariably, you're going to look at that other communion line. What are you doing here? What are you doing here? I know what you do in your life. You spend your whole life trying to get control of the parish religious education program. I know what you do in your life. But there they are. And you know what they do. They're cutting people off right and left. And that's exactly, and you know you got the right read. But there they are going up to communion, and then there's Jesus giving his entire body and blood to that person. And you say to yourself, do you know what you're doing? Or, are you aware of what that person does? Let me tell you. I'm going to tell you. But there is Jesus giving his entire body and blood to that person. It's got to scramble our brains, my sisters and brothers. What I'm saying is, in this sacrament, we've got to keep our eyes open, our head up, and our ears open through it all to see the riches of how Christ operates, because the same Jesus, the same Galilee, is right here in this gym today. And it's the same Christ giving himself totally to the unreliable, the irresponsible, the emotionally crippled, those incapable of intimacy, those who have deep-seated repressed anger, those who need 5 years of group therapy just to become aware of it. Compulsive talkers, it goes on and on. The communion line. Look at that communion line. What I want you to do from now on at Holy Communion is keep your eyes on Jesus as he is giving his body. Keep your eyes on the priests, the Eucharistic ministers, handing out the body and blood of Christ and the blood of Christ. Keep your eyes as you're coming up. Now, when you come up and you receive the body and blood of Christ, receive and go back to your pew, but don't keep your head up and your eyes open back at the priest and talk to Jesus in your heart. Just like, are you sure, Jesus, you want to give yourself to talk? That's prayer. You talk to him. What are you doing? It'll scramble your brains. But if you go to communion like private prayer, you miss it. It would be like being at Emmaus when you're at dinner with Jesus and you're praying and Jesus breaks the bread and the person you're next to says, "It's Jesus, it's Jesus." And you open your eyes and you say, "Well, where did he go? He's gone. He's gone." "Well, didn't you see him?" You say, "No, I was praying." You got to keep your eyes open in a sacrament, because that's how the grace is given. The modality of the ingress of grace in a sacrament is through action. There's a big problem going on right now with our ability to either be trained in that or to have enough wherewithal to do it. I began this presentation by saying, hey, look, we all got intimacy needs. We all got needs for private prayer. And I started it by saying, holy smoke, we got more married couples now coming to make 30 days of silence. And I'm spending half the year talking to business managers who are phoning me up saying, hey, this person wants 30. What is this thing? What is this thing? By the time I finish explaining it to them, the business manager says, oh, absolutely, they can have the time off. Because they want to have somebody they can trust when they understand what this is. The issue is that if you don't satisfy your private prayer needs during the week, you're in trouble when you come to Mass. Because you're saying to yourself, hey, I got 45 minutes in this whole week to pray, and lo and behold, I'm doing it right now. So the person says, stand up, here comes the children with their banners, and here's the songbook. I don't want a songbook, I don't want a songbook, I don't. Hey, I understand it. I really understand it. But the problem is you're trying to eat an artichoke like you eat ice cream. It's not going to work. The Mass is not private prayer. Now, in Holy Communion, after the priest sits down and the Eucharistic ministers sit down, and then there is no communion line, There should be a long, silent, private prayer time of thanksgiving with music or just plain silence. Okay? That's okay. But until the Lord finishes giving himself to every person, keep your eyes on Christ. Always keep your eyes on Jesus. Especially when your spouse is in front of you, up the communion line. Okay? Keep your eyes on Jesus and say, are you sure you want to give yourself to... Do you know what they did to me yesterday? Do you have any idea? But there is Jesus giving his entire self to your spouse. Talk about scrambling your brains. But that's the grace. Now, then we can start to pray, "Oh Lord, give me the grace to love as you love the irresponsible in my life, the unreliable, the emotionally crippled, those incapable of intimacy, those with deep-seated anger, those who need group therapy," on and on and on it goes. Now, we hunger to love with divine love, my sisters and brothers. That's who we are. Please, don't ask yourselves to love one another. Please don't do that. Please don't do that. Ask, may I love this person with your love. Give me your love to love with, oh God. Because our whole being hungers to love with divine love, and God just gives it freely. But that's the way we have to pray. And that's the gift of the communion rite. That's the gift of Holy Communion. That's the real food of Holy Communion, not just eating. Not just eating. It's the companionship and conversation of Christ. It's watching Christ operate is the gift of the real food of the sacrament. The real fruit of public prayer. Watching Jesus operate. Jesus longed to die. And he told the apostles, look, I know you don't understand this, but it's going to be better for you if I leave. And they're all going, oh, right. But it was true, because Christ is present on every altar, in every church, giving himself to every person. Don't we need an example? Aren't we hungering for an example in our society? Don't we need it? We need it, and to be honest, we need it every day. And that's what it's meant to be, real food for us every day. What I receive freely, I give freely. I ask only one thing. As you're going up the communion line with your eyes on Jesus, would you ask Jesus that I could share this with a lot more people, and ask for the gift for me that when people look up, they see only Jesus. God bless you. Thank you very much.